morning. I invite you to turn to one another and greet each other's worth and dignity. I'm Bob Renjilian, minister of this congregation since summer of 2020. I'm glad to have you all here today, whether you've been here many times before or you got a visitor tag or, hey, we've got a few people in this room who just signed the membership book yesterday as well. Glad to have you all here on this day, and those of you who are watching online either live or later, I'm glad to have you here. I want to mention that this is Super Sunday. Thank you to all who signed up to bring something to eat on Super Sunday, and I hope that folks will stay for conversation and sharing a bit of a meal together. There are other things coming up this week, and I'm only going to highlight one or two or three or four or five of them. I keep getting messages back from people, can't we make announcements shorter? And then individually you come to me and say, can't you mention mine, please? So I know that we are invited, the Lutheran Church of the Good Shepherd arranged for our own Bobby King to go and do a presentation with them on refugee situations in America right now during the Trump administration. And this is 7 p.m. Monday, that's tomorrow evening, and we have been told that they, even though they did it for themselves, they are opening it to anyone who wishes to attend. So if you want to go hear Bobby King, that's happening tomorrow at 7 at the Lutheran Church. There is a memorial music event for Lackey Rowe next Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. here at UUTC. And hope you will enjoy very much what goes on in that time in which we have a good time, upbeat time, remembering Lackey. Our pledge drive is officially closing. We've got the last little bit to bring in. If you have not yet turned in a pledge and intend to do so, this would be a really great day to do it. Those of you who have not turned in pledges will find that you'll be getting phone calls from the pledge team. And they're friendly. They are very friendly. So, but you could turn in a pledge form and then write on it, please contact me anyway, I like friendly people. All right. Wonderful Wednesday registration, I've been told, has been fixed on Realm, April 9th, and there's also a sign-up sheet in the lobby. So we're still a couple weeks out from that, but just wanted to let you know if you tried to do it before it was fixed, now it is fixed. So those are the announcements that I decided I would agree to read this morning. Please read your weekly UU Update newsletter and pay attention to what's going on here much better than I do, and you'll be better off for it. Thank you. We now have the prelude, and one of our newest members, Diane Weaver, is already jumping in with giving us some of her talent and time and treasure right here along with John Austin, and let us have the prelude lead us into the mood of worship together.
Thank you. That was lovely. We're going to try something this morning. I'm going to do the chalice, pardon me. I'm going to do the chalice lighting, and I'd like you to, as the words direct us, to breathe in and breathe out. First, breathe in the warmth of this light, its glow filling the spaces where fear and doubt reside. Now breathe out. The tension, breathe out the tension I carry. Release what no longer serves me. Now breathe in the strength of our community, a sanctuary of diverse voices and shared purpose. Now breathe out the urge to go it alone, to embrace the power of togetherness. Now breathe in the courage to speak truth, even when it trembles on my lips. Now breathe out the silence that holds us back, to make space for honesty and justice. Now breathe in the hope of transformation, knowing we are here to build and to heal. Now breathe out despair, trusting that change is born in small acts of love. As we light this chalice, may each breath remind us of the sacred rhythm of life, the pulse of creation, and the power we hold to shape the world around us. Now, as you're able and willing, please rise and join us in the singing of our opening hymn. No.
It's all right. We'll sing it. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell a story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. I've had a few notes handed in, none placed here on the altar this morning. So I'll read the ones that I have as candles of our joys and sorrows. And Nancy Richards asked that we please have a candle for Carter, who took a bad fall in Charlotte and broke her jaw. and will not be returning to home for a few days. Also from Nancy, a separate candle for comfort for her friend Anne, as her partner Ellie's life was coming to an end, and who died last night. Sorrow to all those touched by Ellie's life and death and the grief. We also know that Rick Lawless is home from surgery. Let's light a candle for continued health and healing for him. And let's light a candle for all those things not yet mentioned, those held in the hearts, the joys and the sorrows among all the people here. Let's remember the glow of these candles as we meet and greet each other during our soup afterwards, or whenever we see each other, and reach out our hearts to one another.
Let's read the opening words in unison. This is also an opening prayer. These are by Paul Beadle. Come what may, O Spirit of life, may we own enough humility that we will never be humble. May we own enough compassion that we are never tempted to humiliate. May we own enough forgiveness that neither the humbled nor the humiliators. Oh, so much more and outside the circle of our love. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, and with the Spirit giving power, so may it be. Amen. We've had our opening hymn because I got things out of order. And so now, that's right, we could do it again and do it maybe a little better, not hardly. Okay, Kevin, it's all yours.
Good morning. Today, our Wisdom for All Ages story is called The Empty Pot. And the story is from gathertales.com. And it's following along with the idea of trust, which is our theme. Trusting in yourself and trusting in what is. Well, a long time ago, there was an emperor in ancient China. And he was a good and wise emperor, but he was getting a little bit older, and he wanted to share some things with the land that he ruled over. One of the things he wanted to share was his beautiful garden of flowers. He had the most beautiful, amazing, rarest flowers in his garden. He also wanted to share that there needed to be a successor for him, someone who would come after him to rule his land because he had no kids. And he was a wise one, so he came up with an idea. And he invited all the children of the land to come to his garden one spring day. And he announced that he would choose one of those kids to be the next emperor. Of course, this big crowd buzzed with excitement about what was going on here. And he said, as you all know, I love plants, I love flowers. So each child is going to get a few seeds to plant in a pot. And then I'm going to ask you all back in a few weeks to show me your beautiful pot of flowers. And whoever has the most beautiful pot of flowers is going to be the next emperor. Well, this made everybody really excited, particularly a young boy named Chin. And Chin was known in his village for having a green thumb and being able to make almost anything grow. So they all got their seeds and all went home, and Chin took his seeds and he planted them in a pot. And he put them in good, rich soil, and then he watered it every day, made sure it was in a warm spot in the sun every day, and waited. And Chin waited and waited, but nothing grew. And he was hearing about all these other kids in other villages who were having these amazing, wonderful flowers growing out of their pots, and he started getting a little worried. So he dug the seeds out, put in different soil, made it even richer, and made sure it was watered right, it was in the right space, and nothing happened. Not a shoot, not a leaf, nothing at all. Well, the time came to go back to the emperor, and all these kids came parading in with these great big pots of flowers, and Chin came walking in with them with his head down, with his pot just filled with empty dirt. And the emperor lined everyone up and started walking down the line of kids, commenting, "This flower looks very beautiful. These flowers are really amazing," and complimenting all the kids. When he finally got to Chin, he stopped and said, "Chin, where are your flowers?" And Chin felt this deep fear and humiliation, and tears started springing to his eyes. He said, "Well, I tried and I did my best, but I couldn't get the flowers to grow." And then Chin said, "But my mom told me that even if they didn't grow, I did my best and trust that my best was good enough to bring here." The emperor looked at him and put his hand on Chin's shoulder and said, "I've found the next emperor." And everyone gasped and said, "What? But his flowers didn't grow. This is looking terrible." And the emperor said, "When I asked you all to grow the seeds I gave everyone boiled seeds. And when you boiled the seeds in water, they would never grow." And Chin, he did his best, and he brought his honesty here. And what is needed to be a good ruler is to have courage and integrity and honesty. And so Chin is now the new ruler. And everyone got it, and the truth sunk in, and they all applauded, and Chin became the new emperor. And he ruled wisely and honestly, but he always kept that empty pot on his desk to remind him and his advisors that what we need are rulers with honesty. So let's remember this in this troubled time. Thank you. And now we'd like to call up Eli Seafelt, who is going to light our children's chalice, and we'll sing the kids out.
What is it to make an offering? I mean, I'm told in the Bible there are all sorts of demands for offerings. Cain and Abel, first family, first kids. Each, in their own way, decided to bring an offering of the best that they could do. Much like the kid with the pot who was asked to grow flowers, they were asked to present something to God and see what would please God. Abel, vegetarian, grew vegetables. Now, it's the other way around. Cain was a vegetarian, grew vegetables. Abel raised up animals and sacrificed them. God, who is not quite as wise yet to the ways of humans, said, "Wow, I really like the smell of barbecued meat." And so Cain deeply resented the favor shown to his brother and murdered him. This is not the way we have an offering in our Unitarian Universalist tradition. When I end this offering, I will lift the baskets with all that is given in love. And I will not say, "Yours was better." I like yours. I didn't like yours. I don't care if you're a vegetarian or a meat eater. We've got diversity here. In whatever way from your heart you feel this is the right place to put some of your money, we invite you to do so now. And if you would like to give to SAFE for those who are affected by domestic violence, you can put it in the envelope for a special collection to go directly out into the community for that purpose. We will now receive the morning offering. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Jane. For all that's given in love, we receive with great joy and say thank you. In whatever ways you gather yourself into a time of prayer and meditation, for whatever you hold in whatever definition of the holy or the highest or the most connected, this is the time in which I will lift up prayers and have some silence for meditation. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here this morning come from our own paths to this place. We have found this place only just recently or anew. We have tread our paths for lives that are longer or shorter than those around us, but this we have in common. Spirit of love and life, we know that we are in community, and that as we share our joys and sorrows, as we speak from the deepest places of our hearts and our souls, we know that we are connected to something that stretches us outward. May we trust that impulse to be connected more broadly. May we trust one another in ways that are bounded in safety and also open to the vulnerability in protected spaces. Spirit of love and life this morning as well, we lift up the prayers which these candles represent. We name Carter with a hope for recovery and sorrow and empathy in her pain. Reach out with love, knowing she's far away in Charlotte and not yet home. We reach out to those who are grieving, facing losses recent or in memory. In particular this morning, Anne, the loss of her partner Ellie, and all those friends and family feeling the ripple effects of that loss. We know that there are many who are recovering from surgery, and in particular today we lift up Rick Lawless, continuing to heal at home. Spirit of love and life, may we now in this silence hold these in the prayers and meditations in this gathered space. May what we feel reverberate with love in this world. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say, blessed be. Amen. I invite you in a post-prayer hymn, number 86. You may remain seated for Blessed Spirit of my life.
Strength through stress and strife.
The reading I chose this morning is from 1 John 4, and it's in our hymn book labeled in the back as a reading called Love One Another. Let us love one another because love is from God. Whoever does not love God does not know God, for God is love. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God lives in us. God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. There is no fear in love, for perfect love casts out fear. Those who say, I love God, and hate their brothers and sisters are liars. For those who do not love a brother or sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God lives in us. Now, I don't know if you can tell from the story we had at the beginning of this service with Kevin or any of the other words that I've said so far, that you can tell that this one is veering into the political as I preach on the phrase, the motto, in God we trust. In God we trust. And as I said in the newsletter, used to be when our founders got together and argued about just about everything, they wanted to figure out what the Great Seal of the United States would be and what the imagery would be. And they didn't want religious imagery there. Some said, no, that wouldn't be right. And they're arguing back and forth. But in one thing they agreed. They wanted the motto of the United States to be E pluribus unum, out of many one. It was a recognition of the many different colonies, but also the many different Americans coming together in what was being united. Now, over the years, that phrase continued throughout the way in which school children were taught in our country. This is the motto of our nation. And the French went and donated a big old statue to us. If we could only raise the money to put up a stand to put it on. And we didn't have the money for the stand, but then school children donated all sorts of dimes or whatever else to get a mounting place for that statue. And it said on it, send us your poor, send us, your wretched poor, all these, this, send us your messed up folks and we'll take them. Now, it doesn't say messed up folks, but you get the idea that it was kind of pro-immigrant and probably still fitting E pluribus unum. But things shifted. Things shifted in the United States. And just before that Statue of Liberty was brought over, we had had a war, brother on brother, a Cain and Abel kind of thing. No, you can do it this way. No, we do the United States this way. Oh, it's states' rights. No, it's not states' rights. It's all sorts of arguing. And so somebody said, well, you know what will solve all this? We have to have something on our coins that says that we trust God. So they put on some of the coins, like the $2 coin, in God we trust. Now, I don't think that exactly ended the Civil War, but, it made some people feel better. But the motto of the country was still E pluribus unum. The more we had immigrants coming to our shores, the more we had to learn to deal with different foods and cultures, different ways of doing things, different attitudes, different clothing options. And it was hard for people. I wrote in the newsletter this month that Robert Putnam, the author of the bestseller Bowling Alone, Trends in Society, shifting away from the way we used to be able to be in groups and now we're not anymore. No more big bowling leagues. You know, somebody told me, oh yeah, the bowling alley closed here. Yeah. What he researched next was the way in which diversity, at first, makes people distrust each other. Because it's an us and them thing, and then people get stuck on us and them and break down the us's into smaller and smaller bits. Do you trust your neighbors? No. Do you trust immigrants? No. Who do you trust? That's a good question. Who do you trust? Throughout the 1920s in this country, there were more and more things about keeping immigrants out. I mean, I was lucky my grandfather came over around 1909, 1910. And, you know, there's all sorts of stuff going on about who gets let in and who doesn't. And he was able to sponsor his brother just before World War II, but it was harder and harder to get some folks in. A distrust of others. We had then, in the early 20th century, different things where people said, I don't have to take care of anyone else in this world. This is about me. There were people, as World War I was starting, who said, no, we don't need to be in a foreign war. Don't entangle us there. Same thing happened in World War II. What I want to say in relationship to some of this theme is Unitarian Universalists don't always get things right. So I'm not speaking here about somehow in the us and them of the world, Unitarian Universalists are right about accepting others. E pluribus unum. Or even in God we trust, they're right about that. I'm not. I'm going to speak about what happened as World War I became a reality for the United States. If you remember, there was a three-way race for president. And Wilson won against former President Roosevelt and current incumbent Taft. What you may not know was Taft was a Unitarian. William Howard Taft was a devout Unitarian, as a matter of fact. After he was President of the United States, he went on to be moderator of the General Conference of Unitarians. Kind of, if we think of our modern UUA General Assembly, he would have been the one running the meetings. William Howard Taft had particular ideas of what was loyalty to country. What was the right way to do things when you're in war? William Howard Taft ended up having a debate shortly after the United States entered the World War I in 1917. Congress passed the 1917 Espionage Act. It made it a crime for people to speak out against the country's involvement in the war or to encourage draft resistance or conscientious objection. As a result of the act, several hundred people were arrested. Peace and social justice organizations, minority political parties, and radical labor unions were repressed. And against this backdrop, the General Conference of Unitarian and other Christian churches met for its biannual meeting. Now, this is from Tapestry of Faith curriculum, a Unitarian Universalist curriculum I'm quoting. Events at the conference challenged the Unitarian tradition of free speech and dissent. In advance of the meeting, John Haynes Holmes, a minister of the Church of the Messiah in New York City, prepared an official report outlining different attitudes found among Unitarians towards the war. The report was presented on behalf of the General Council, and the report asserted that there were varying attitudes maintained by Unitarians towards the war. And Holmes identified the various and declared himself to be a pacifist. Among those, that group that said no, that they were opposed not just to the current war, but war in general. And it had a plea in the report that's saying nothing is more important at this time than opportunity for full, free, and fair statement of all points of view. That is, to trust that people could hold dissenting opinions. William Howard Taft was incensed by this. I've been told that he came down from the podium to come stand at the microphone for delegates, or the speaker place for delegates, and argued quite angrily against Holmes. And in fact, argued and put forward a motion that the Unitarians would resolve that it is the sense of this Unitarian conference that this war must be carried to a successful issue to stamp out militarism in the world, and that we as Unitarian body approve of the measures of President Wilson and Congress to carry on this war, restrictive as they may be. John Haynes Holmes and any of the other identified pacifist ministers within our movement were told they couldn't be Unitarian ministers anymore. His church changed their name to Community Church of New York, still remained in association with the Unitarians, but John Haynes Holmes, until he retired, was never again a member of the Unitarian Ministers Association, or the UUA. After he retired, he did rejoin. E pluribus unum. Out of many one. Diversity. Can we hear many different voices? Dr. Seuss said no. Dr. Seuss made a cartoon, a political cartoon, showing John Haynes Holmes again speaking for pacifism on the eve of World War II, and speaking of needing to recognize the humanity of the Japanese Americans and the Japanese in general. And Dr. Seuss said, I'm sure John Haynes Holmes is a nice guy, but the place for pacifism is like strawberry festivals. It should be between wars, not during them. Okay. By the time of the worry about communism in the 1950s, E pluribus unum was erased. You can still find it. It may still be on the seal, but it's no longer the official motto. The new motto is In God We Trust, and the Pledge of Allegiance. Those of you old enough to remember reciting it as a school child before, indivisible, but no, it's under God. One nation under God, no, not one nation indivisible. One nation indivisible is a pretty important phrase. One nation under God, indivisible, kind of breaks up the patter a little bit. Why did we have to do that? Because of the godless communists. We had to show we were not godless communists. We had to do it by act of Congress. And it was renewed again, reaffirmed that no, E pluribus unum is not our motto in 2011. Congress again said, no, no, no. It's In God We Trust. And so now, showing the level of trust we have in this world, it has to be on our license plates, our sheriff's cars, certain governmental buildings, our money. And I'm thinking, where is the meaning in that phrase if we make it so trite that it's pasted on things because we don't trust? Robert Putnam, we don't trust. We've had so much diversity around us that we can't even trust our own neighbors. So what do we trust in? We trust in God, but only if we put it on our money. This really bugs me. I don't care what era of my life and what path I was following religiously, whether I was with the atheistic humanists as a youth or as a young adult hanging out at college with the Young Friends group and the Quakers, or whether it was later on in which I began to explore a more theistic view of religion. In whatever ways, the phrase just seemed flat in the way it was used. I'm annoyed by that. There are some songs sung. You know, God Bless America. Now, it was originally composed by Irving Berlin for World War I, but it never really made it until the lead up into World War II. And the original words said, what was it? The later words that we know is like, through the night, and da 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 da. So what was that again? Yeah. It was something like through the right. But Irving Berlin rewrote it for World War II because the right was beginning to read in a way that a right wing was saying it. And he didn't want to associate it with right wing. Now, I know Unitarian Universalists. We have, for some mistake, put more chairs on the left than on the right. But we have chairs for everybody, okay? All right. But it's interesting to hear that there had to be a change of language because it would be interpreted in a way that Irving Berlin didn't want. And you know, Irving Berlin found out that there was a whole group that did not like the song because of who he was. Felt it was the wrong song to sing and would not sing it at their patriotic activities, and that was the KKK, because he was Jewish. So they didn't like God Bless America. Sometimes diversity is ironic, confusing, whatever. How many of you have seen the movie Titanic? What do they play as they are sinking? What does the band come out and just play as everybody is starting to realize they're going to drown? Nearer, my God, to thee. A wonderful prayer. And yet, Sarah Flower Adams, who wrote Nearer, my God, to thee, raised Unitarian in England. Her mom died, her father then was raising them. Her dad died, then the Unitarian minister acted as godparent for them, guardian for them, for she and her sister. Sarah Flower Adams, in reading the poetry of Robert Browning, began to have doubts about God, began to wonder about whether she felt a real deep belief the way she was raised to believe in God. She had a conversation, letters or conversation with that minister named Fox, William Fox, I think, who, you know, was helping her try to explore religion like good Unitarian ministers do. And in the midst of her doubt, in her yearning for some clarity, she wrote, Nearer, my God, to thee. That hymn is not oh, I feel so close to God. That hymn is, I really wish I knew what I believed about God. Go back and read it with that in mind, with her biography in mind. Humanist Heritage Online has a whole description of that. We're going to sing Sarah Flower Adams as our final hymn today. I'll get to that in a moment, just to bring that voice in here. I have a problem with In God We Trust. I have a problem with the pieces of us not embracing diversity earlier and earlier rather than later and later. I have a problem with the folks who would throw out God Bless America just because the author is Jewish. I have a problem with politicians whom we believe would never have presented an empty pot to the emperor, who instead want to look flowery and perfect. I have a problem with the idea that somehow even Unitarians get to points where they say, we cannot trust the ability to hold a diversity of opinion. If we're afraid, let's shut down everything outside our comfort zone. I have a problem with our government today. Now, we know what Taft said in the time in which Unitarians were saying, just because President Wilson says we should do this, they don't want to do this. Do you know what Roosevelt said? Teddy Roosevelt? I've got this written down in here. He said in 1918, World War I again, patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president or any other public official, save exactly to the degree in which he himself stands by the country. It's patriotic to support him in it so far as he efficiently serves the country. It's unpatriotic not to oppose him to the exact extent that by inefficiency or otherwise he fails in his duty to stand by the country. In either event, it is unpatriotic not to tell the truth, whether about the president or anyone else, save in the rare cases where this would make known to the enemy information of military value, which would otherwise be unknown to the enemy. I happen to know that there are certain members of Congress who hang a photo of Teddy Roosevelt on their walls. But I don't think they put that quote underneath. If we are to have trust in our systems, then we need to work and speak the truth to those who need to hear it. If we are indeed to trust that original motto of these United States, e pluribus unum, out of many one, if we are to in some way feel that what's written about the Statue of Liberty is true, that we are a nation of which we have been sent the wretched and the cast off, and we're still all the good for it. If we are to believe this, then maybe we need to read Teddy Roosevelt to some of our elected officials. If we are to help lift up trust of one another, then we need to be able to hold hands with folks who are different from us and help them out. If we see the phrase, "In God we trust," another 1,000th time, we need to ask the person who has that on their being or says that that's the most important thing to have out there, in what way did you not listen to 1 John 4? That if you do not love your brother and sister, then you do not love God. Thank you for listening. We can pass out hymnals for number 411. Anything under 1,000 is in the gray book. Would you like to look on with me, Mike? For life and light are the shadows lengthening o'er us. Bless thy care who guards the night. Part in peace with deep thanksgiving, rendering as we homeward tread love and service to the living, gentle memory to the dead. Part in peace, our voices raising, in thy presence always be. This the worship and the praising, bringing peace to you and me. The same person who wrote our chalice lighting lit the words for our closing words here. Craig Rowland, a member of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem, Oregon, says this, come what may, O Spirit of life, may we own enough humility that we never need to be humbled, he said in the opening words. And in the benediction he says, as we extinguish this chalice flame, may the warmth of its light remain with us, guiding our steps and our hearts. Let us carry forward the strength of this community, the courage to speak truth, and the hope that transformation is possible. In each breath we take, may we remember that the work of love, justice, and healing is ours to continue, both here and beyond these walls. Go in peace with the light of this gathering to illuminate your way.